I just am so, so grateful to have one of our awesome clients and her daughter with us today. So I would like to introduce you to MerLeesa and Izzy. And so we're going to talk all about the amazing things that Izzy did in the program at the hand of her mom and through our coaching. But first, guys, I'll just introduce you. And would you like to share a little bit, Izzy, about how old you are, or what life looks like for you right now?
So I'm 13. When I started this program, I was 12. But it's been amazing. Like this program, I jumped significantly in reading, which was really my goal, and writing. So I was very excited about doing this. So
in the
Ah,
beginning.
in the beginning, I was sad. Okay, I didn't really want another school subject, but
Yeah.
yeah.
That's okay. Let's talk more about that. So, um, when we do the initial assessments, like we just kind of gather data on everybody, and it looked like at that time your reading was at the fourth percentile, which meant that you were reading better than 4 out of 100 of your same age peers. So, tell me more about what was life like for you as a kiddo that was struggling with reading and spelling.
So I'm homeschooled, so I didn't really realize it until I was in a class setting when I turned 12. I was in this class setting that we call challenge, and the only time I realized it was when we had to read out loud because the other girls in the class could read better than I was reading at the time, and so that made me a little frustrated.
Sure.
So when I was smaller, Ziva was able to, my little sister
She's two and
got
a half years younger.
yeah, was able to catch up with me in reading. So she kind of pushed me until I got to the grade level I was at, because that was grade level she was at, and I just didn't care anymore. So, I was just like, okay, you know, tied with my sister.
I
So,
think I mean, Ziva surpassed her a long time ago,
yeah.
but she didn't, it wasn't like a bully situation like you would get in a regular classroom because she's her sister. And so basically Ziva would just be her crutch in a lot of ways. Was Ziva would just read things for her. And I did a lot of that. Also, I would read for her because that's what we were advised to do. We were advised to treat it like they would in a public school, basically me be her one-on-one tutor. And so I would read her lessons to her often, like especially if she was taking a test, I would read it to her so she wouldn't make mistakes on that portion. And I mean, she has excellent comprehension and she can learn anything audibly, and she almost memorizes everything you read to her. So it's it was never like a problem until she was in challenge and she was without me most of the time. Like I stayed with her a lot, but it became like what's the word, like a challenge, I guess, for us to be
Yeah.
not able to me be with her 100% of the time, which her tutor knew, and so she would help her. But
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. So I guess take me back in time to when you kind of realized that something might have been more difficult for Izzy. Like, how old was she? What did that look like?
she was 4. um, so my grandmother was a kindergarten teacher for like 40 years, and so my grandma was doing like a little pre-K thing with her and one of her cousins, and my grandma thought that something was wrong with her eyes, because of what she was doing and wasn't able to do. And my grandma just turned 90, so like 10 years ago she was 80, and whatever. And so she I was like, I don't think anything's wrong with her eyes, grandma. And so, but I did take her and got her eyes checked, and they're like, no, she has perfect vision. And so after that, we were still doing the class with my grandma, or it was just like twice a week, maybe we would go and she would do little pre-K exercises with her because she's never gone to preschool or any sort of regular schooling environment. And so after another couple of weeks, my grandma goes, I think she might be dyslexic. And I was like, well, that would make sense because we have a lot of dyslexic people. My father is dyslexic, and my husband's father is dyslexic, and many other people in our regular family. And then
Yeah.
my father-in-law was like, oh yeah, I could totally tell she was. And I was like, well, you could have shared that. And we could have shared that. And so At 4 years old, I knew she was. I was pretty sure, and so we started, trying different programs, and we've tried 100 different things, and she finally started to kind of read around first grade, when Ziva was starting to push her. We tried, there was one that was like, learn to read in 4 weeks. And obviously, we've tried Susan Barton's program, and there was the Bob books, and I can't even remember. There were so many, but the one that worked the best was learn to read in 100 days or 100 easy lessons or something like that. And that one got her to basically read, but she stayed at a kindergarten, first grade level for a very long time. Like she was never able to just fluently read anything that wasn't strongly decodable. Like, and she would make a lot of mistakes still, even in, I think she was around fourth grade whenever she was able to like track better. Like I would have her listen to audiobooks and track along with it, and that kind of helped her to like read silently. But I feel like she was missing a good 40% at least of what she was reading, and so her comprehension wasn't good because she wasn't, like, if she didn't know the word, she would either assume it was something it wasn't or just skip it. And I think so that's when I really just started doing it, reading for her most of the time. But we actually had to have her formally tested when she was in fourth grade because we were living in Hawaii, and they needed me to have a formal diagnosis in order to not have her do the standardized testing for the school system. And so we did that, and they told me that she was like as bad, as severely dyslexic as she could be, like the worst that they've ever seen. And I was like, oh, yay. And so we did try a lot of other programs, but your program was the first one that I was actually told, I heard, when I was watching your thing on Instagram or whatever, that it could be retrained and that she could actually use the parts of her brain that weren't working, that obviously weren't working. And so I was like, well, we could try.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's talk more about that because obviously you did amazing. And so let's transition into like, okay, so you went through the program and you did the work and you guys did the daily 10 to 15 minutes, which, I'm sure some days are more, some days are less, so it's not perfect. But what would you say are some of the celebrations or things that you can talk about now or that you're doing now?
Yeah, so during that time I was really into a series, but it was super hard for me to read. And so whenever I started doing retrain, I got really excited because I realized it was the first time ever that I had finished a chapter book in like under
Oh,
a
cool.
week.
Wow.
After like we were about done with module 6, I think, is when
Okay.
she started trying to read it. And because she had read a different series just before we started it, and it took her over a month to finish each book. Like, and it was a lower reading level. I can't remember what it was called. If you remember what it's
You're
called.
talking about Dreamkeeper Saga?
Maybe the Dreamkeeper Saga. And it was, yes, it was a lower reading level, but it took her a really long time to read. And she got bored with it because she couldn't read it fast enough. And she wanted me to buy it for her on Audible, and I said no. I said no, because I
Like,
want
let's
you to
actually read
try.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I know that like what it looks like for you now is incredibly different, Izzy. So would you mind sharing like what does life look like for you now as it pertains to reading?
It's so much easier. Like I can understand. Like I could read before, but I just wouldn't comprehend. So
Yeah.
like I would have to reread the word. Otherwise, I'd be like, what? Because my
Yeah.
eyes would switch. They would switch the letters around. And
Okay.
so and now I can just read through it and I understand. I'm working through a book now, and I can just understand it, and I'm happy. I'm just like, yes, I can finally understand what all this means.
Oh
So
my goodness. Well, your mom had celebrated, I don't know if she told you, Izzy, but like several times when we get together, it's a bunch of the parents that are doing the program and me, and your mom would celebrate, like, oh my goodness, Izzy, you read this book, and then she read another book, and then she read another book. So, Merlisa, do you want to talk about some of the celebrations that you got to have because of some of the changes that she'd been making?
Yeah, so it's just been night and day because we started the summer, like most of the way through the program. We were doing it through the summer. And so it wasn't like we were doing school actively every day, but we ended the school year in like early May, and then we were still doing we were probably only in like 7 and 8 during May. But sh we just started again a couple weeks ago doing school again, and she can work independently far more. And she used to take like last year it was taking all day, like at least 8 to 10 hours a day doing lessons, and she wasn't completing her work. Like it was just we were calling it quits. And like not yesterday, but Monday, she got up pretty early and then got started around 8 o'clock in the morning, and she was done by lunchtime, like with 8 subjects. And so she was
Good
done
job,
with her daily
Izzy.
work in like 4 hours, and we were just like, woo! Feel like we got the whole day. So so
Wow.
we were really excited about that. And I just think that her having the ability to work more independently just makes
Mhm.
it easier because I'm not just teaching her, I'm also teaching her sister. And so
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
I mean, I basically just had to grade everything. She did it all. So
Wow. What was that like for you, Izzy?
Ah, it's so much easier for my brain because like in like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's like I hit a wall and I cannot like keep going because my brain is just like going down. It's like I'm done, you know. And
Yeah.
so last year it was so hard for me. But this year I got done at lunch and it was just like, oh, you know.
she never hit the wall.
You know.
Wow, that's got to feel awesome for you
Yeah.
and certainly confidence building as well. Okay, so I know that Marlisa, you were sharing some of the books that you had said a phrase like she can't put books down. Tell us more about this. I want everybody to hear like what your life looks like now.
So we bought her a Kindle for her birthday, which was in May, and she just keeps getting new ones on there. Like she read all three of the Hunger Games, like the regular ones, and then she found that they had two like shorter novels that went along with them, and so she read all of those. And she did all that was just like the month of May.
Wow.
Then and then she just, I don't know. I think she slowed down once we started doing schoolwork again, but she's been reading Jesus Freaks and she likes that book a lot. And I mean, that's an adult reading level. And so she, she just enjoys reading now, where she's always enjoyed reading, but it was I had to get Audible books. Like she's always wanted to listen to books all the time. And now I don't have to spend so much money on the books. So it's
So
nice.
there's those benefits. But then obviously, like when you think about your preparedness to everything that comes after, whether you decide to go on and do additional schooling or you're doing things when you're living on your own someday and not living with your mom. I mean, there's certainly ways that these skills will be massively impactful for the whole rest of your life. And so that's just amazing. Let's talk a little bit about writing. Like when I look at your scores, it looks like at the beginning, spelling was at the second percentile, and you made massive leaps. Like when I look at all of the words that you spelled by sound, and these were things that were incredibly difficult. Let me just give you an example of some of these words. Um, Commiserate, stationary, conscience, enthusiasm. I mean, like you had 98% of those where you had every single one of the sounds there. So tell me more about writing and what that process has felt like.
So writing has always been difficult for me. And so whenever I started doing this program, I was just like, it felt like it was going to be another one that didn't work, but it did. It worked. And I was just like, what in the world? So now I feel better about writing because I know I'm at least spelling it phonetically correct. So,
Yes. Yes, and you've got all the sounds there, and there's nothing that's added and nothing missing. It's huge. Do you feel like you have more confidence to write things down if you're asked to?
yeah. Yes, the other day I was doing a thing called what is it, IEW?
Mhm.
I was doing IEW and I'm watching a video and he told us to like pause the video and write down something. So I was writing it and I felt like so I would, whenever I didn't know what it was, I'd sound it out and at least spell it phonetically correct. So
Oh, good for
I
you.
was very happy. So
That's amazing. Yeah, and to have that independence, I think is huge. So I know like when we did our exit call, we got to celebrate all of the cool things that you had done in the data. But, something that I think you, Izzy, were very interested in is like being able to inspire another child that is your age. And so if you were to advise somebody else who's in your same position, what would you want them to know, or what things do you think are important that somebody your age might understand?
So it's just hard at my age because this is the age that some other kids like bullying us, I guess. Like, you can't read, I'm better than you, stuff like that. I never had that because I'm homeschooled, but I would think that because I was just like, why are all my friends better than I am right now? And so, but it when you do this, you can catch up to them and you can just it feels good because you know that you're getting better, that you're making progress. And so in the beginning you don't really want to do it because it just feels like another school subject, but in the end it really does pay off.
Mom, is there anything that you'd like to share?
I know that in the beginning it's kind of silly, like especially for this age. If you can tell that, and I told her whenever we were doing it, you can tell that it was created for the younger kid,
Mhm.
and especially when we were like use Cheerios or chocolate
Yeah,
chips or whatever. And I'm like,
yeah.
whatever, you like chocolate chips. And um, so I mean, it is silly, but if you just, I think that it is important to just put the work in, like even though, it doesn't matter what your age is. Just embrace the candies. Okay.
Yeah, no. And so, I mean, what they're talking about is, at the beginning, it's really critical to get the brain actually connecting letters and sounds. And so, the beautiful thing about a brain with dyslexia is that there is additional creativity, there's additional lateral thinking, additional spatial thinking. I mean, there's so many gifts that come with that brain profile. And one of the things that's hard is that letters and sounds are not connecting together. And so it's the reason why you might decode a word and you get partway through it and you add letters in that don't belong, or your brain is not really able to figure out what it is or decode through that successfully. I know you guys said like 40% of the time she was just kind of guessing at what the words really were. And so that's not because you weren't trying, Izzy, it's because your brain was struggling to connect the letters and sounds together. But when you actually teach the brain how to do that, and you can make it fun, you can use the candies, embracing the candies. Yeah, I mean, you can play those games in a lot of different ways, but the point is that without actually getting letters and sounds to reconnect, you don't get at the heart of what's happening to make that difficult in the
Yeah.
first place.
I mean, we really did love this program. Like I said, she's 13. I've homeschooled her whole life, and we have literally tried everything. Like if it is a targeted for dyslexic readers, I've given it a shot. And so this is the first one that really showed marked improvement, like serious, actual, tangible help. This is the first time that any of them have ever worked. Like, and it's been very discouraging. I told my husband, okay, just one more time, because he works and I don't, and I was like, just come on, we can try it with you too. He didn't like that, but he is dyslexic also, but he's also very hyper intelligent and learned how to deal with it himself. And um, yeah, it was really funny because sometimes we'd be doing the thing like at the kitchen table and he'd be like, that's not right. And I'm like, you're wrong. Be quiet. You're right.
There was one night he grabbed some of the tiles we were using and was doing the same thing as I was. And then, like, every once in a while, Zeba was watching him, and every once in a while he'd press the wrong one, and she'd be like, no!
So dad didn't do as good of a job as you.
Ziva, no,
Oh,
like Ziva's she doesn't have dyslexia, my other kid. So just, and she'd be like, Dad, you're wrong, Dad. Just don't do it.
oh,
Shh.
oh my goodness. I love it. Well, I think it's so powerful for you guys to be here and sharing the story because there are a lot of other kids, Izzy, that probably have been told through numerous channels, whether it's somebody in your family or somebody at school or a peer that make it seem like there's really nothing that you can do about this. And this is just something that you have to get a workaround for. Like just learn to deal. This just is what it is, but that's not true. And I mean, you're living proof of what happens within a short interval of time of really getting serious about doing the work that you can have massively different results. I mean, my goodness, how many books did you say you read in May? Like, it's just
Like 5.
that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And so, I mean, I think what's beautiful about it is not only did your skills increase, but I think, your love for doing those kinds of things, your confidence in being able to do those things, your independence in being able to do these things, I think all of it just adds to this beautiful, literate, rich life where you get to have reading as something that you love forever. And what's more beautiful than that?
Yeah. I would
That's
say that it took us a little, I feel like it took us longer than was anticipated. Like she got through like the first 2 levels really easily because I feel like they were very similar to the other programs that we'd done. But after
sure.
level 2, like I feel like it took us at least 2 or 3 weeks for each module. There was, so maybe that, I mean, maybe because she's older, maybe because of her level of severity with dyslexia, but I do feel like it was not going as fast as we thought it should.
That's okay. I mean, I think the long and short of it is that this is not a multi-year process. This wasn't even, and when I'm looking at this, I mean,
It was a
I-
little less than 6 months, I think, is when we did, or maybe 5 months it took us. Yeah.
still, I mean, like in the
Maybe.
grand scheme of things, when you think about so from 4 years old, you started trying things to support her. And I know, like, based on everything that you said, you didn't stop trying to support her throughout that entire journey. So from 4 to 12, you'd been actively doing things. And so to have a marked improvement in 5 to 6 months, I think goes to show that there really is something to this idea of like actually helping the brain to reconnect letters and sounds and the impact that that can have.
Definitely.
And yeah, I mean, I think you guys did an absolutely great job. And so what? So it takes a couple of extra weeks, and instead
Yeah,
of it being 4 months, it's 5 months. In the grand scheme of things, it's a blip in your life. But I can't thank you enough for being willing to share your story with other people because I know that there are other kids, Izzy, that are in the same position that you were, probably feeling a lot of the same things that you were. And so to see a real girl who is doing amazing things with her life, I think it's really inspiring. So thank you for being willing to do that.
Yeah.
And thanks, Mom, you did amazing. So I mean, everything that they're talking about, they did from home. And so this is not them going to a tutoring center. This is us providing the coaching of what to do and how to do that within that daily interval. But this is 100% thanks to your commitment and showing up to do the work with Izzy too. So great job, Mom.
thanks.
Yeah. Okay, amazing. Well, thank you both so much. I sincerely appreciate it. And we'll look forward to doing another one of these soon. Thanks.